Hello, everybody, and welcome to some Sunday night racing action here on ETV Live. Tonight, ETV Live's live coverage of the Professional Sim Racing IndyCar Series, their inaugural series. First time being broadcasted here on ETV Live. It's going to be two 20-lap duels at the Michigan International Speedway. Hello, everybody. My name is Evan Pasoko. Joining me up in the booth tonight, Justin Rose. Now, Justin, 2 heats, 20 laps, and a bunch of fast open-wheel cars on a big oval. Should be a great night.
Well, I remember this from my high school days back 10 years ago or so, roughly, and I tell you what, Evan, here in the Irish Hills of Michigan, these Dallara chassis Indy cars, man, they haul some serious tail. 225, 230 miles an hour action. You're going to see 3-4 wide in the draft. This is going to be one big gaggle of cars and one big pack Talladega style, but we're doing it tonight in the Indy cars.
Definitely, you got to look at the racetrack, the Michigan International Speedway, 2 miles in length. D-shaped oval track, 18 degrees of banking in the corners. You mentioned some fast speeds. The lowest these guys will be going without the draft is 210 miles an hour, and lots of these sessions like this are up in the hosted section on the iRacing service, and they are a lot of fun, but they're very treacherous, those corners, going through them side by side. Sometimes you can't see the guy next to you, and with these open wheel cars, you really can't afford a mistake. Again, this is the inaugural season of the PSR, the Professional Sim Racing IndyCar Series, so we're broadcasting it here on ETV Live Sunday night for the first time. 2 duels, 20 laps. We're going to invert the field halfway through the night of action. So it's going to be interesting to see if we see any drivers playing some strategy to try to set themselves up for that second portion and eventually look for the win here once we get to the A duel coming up after this first 20-lap segment.
Definitely. One thing to point out, folks, here is, looking at the practice times and then looking at what's on the qualifying charts right now, you're going to see people going from the back to the front just like people normally do at Daytona and Talladega in the Cup cars. I mean, really interesting.
We do an anthem?
Just really got to point out, though, to you, Evan, is we actually have a lot of the RSR Cup drivers here tonight. Drivers like C.J. LeVere, J. Randall Watkins, people that we normally see. So, Evan, these guys are going to put on one good show for us, aren't they?
And definitely, and that show is about to kick off, so we're going to go down trackside with the Cactus Cuties and the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And thank you to the Cactus Cuties for that and the virtual Thunderbirds as well. Taking a look at the point standings here as the field comes to the grid. Race number 4 coming up tonight here, 4 and 5 rather, on the season. Race 5 if you include their preseason race that actually took place here at the Michigan International Speedway. We got to look at the points. Matt A. Kingsbury on top of the points. Second place is John Higman Jr. With 24 points off of that. Nathan Bowers sitting in that third spot, 40 back, 1 point behind him. Adam Roberts in the 4th position, 41 points back, and then 48 back, rounding off the top 5 is going to be J. Randall Watkins.
Got a stout front row here, Evan, and starting on the front row tonight in the number 83, that will be Chris Welker with a time of 33.483 seconds, and starting the outside of him will be the 03 of Nathan Bowers, just 2 thousandths behind Welker with a 33.485 second lap.
Some bad fast laps. They're up at the top of the qualifying board. Take a look at row number 2 on the inside, the 3rd starting position, the 04 CJ LaVere, another RSR driver here weekly on ETVLive. And then you got to look at the 4th place car. Another fast guy is the 27 of Augusto Gabaldoni.
Inside row number 3, you will find the 67 of Brian Harvey, and starting the outside of him, completing row number 3, will be the 9 of Chad Schilling.
How about row number 4, the inside, 7th starting position is the 66 of Kevin Manning, and then on his outside in the 8th starting position is going to be J. Randall Watkins in the 77.
Inside row number 5, you will see the number 51 of Doug Manning, and starting outside of him, 2nd place in points, the number 60 of John Higdon Jr.
Making up row number 6, the inside in the 11th starting position, Josh Cheney going to roll his number 99 off of the grid in that spot. Then John Abbott into number 10 is going to take to the grid in the 12th starting position.
Rounding out your field tonight in the 13th starting spot will be the number 1 of Scott Brotherton, starting outside of him in the number 24, Adam Roberts.
And you got to look about 3 more drivers not taking times, starting in the 15th position. It will be the 14, Joey Gattina. 16th is going to be the 39 of Eric Arnold, and Ed Williams Jr. in the 65. Rounding off the field, going to take to the grid, 17th position. So those bottom 4 drivers not taking time, giving us a total of 17 drivers ready to go here at Michigan. Again, different setup here. 2 20-lap segments. We're going to invert the field halfway through, and then get going again. IndyCar, open wheel, big track like Michigan. A lot of history behind this, and should be a great night of action here as we come to the green, as we go into turn number 3.
This was one of the historical races here, trying to replace the Indy 500 with the IRL and kart split here. A lot of interesting races here between Juan Pablo Montoya and Michael Andretti here in the Indy cars. Not specifically in this Dallara chassis here, but we have 17 drivers on the track right now. Pace car getting ready to pull off on the pit road, Evan. These guys are going to get ready to go here, 235 miles an hour here at the Michigan International Speedway.
The cautions are on, the lights are off on the Ford First Racing Mustang pace car. Down the pit road he goes. Field in the hands of the 83 of Chris Welker waiting. There he goes. The green flag is out, and we are racing at the Michigan International Speedway for the first 20 laps tonight. Big now, 3 wide for the 2nd position. 1 car dropping back through the middle. Everybody else piling it in there into turn number 1 side by side, looking for anybody trying to get an advantage. We got a big pack of cars all going for 2nd here, looking like the inside line has the advantage off too.
Nathan Bowers did not get a good start at all, and I tell you what though, Evan, it's going to be very interesting here watching these guys get all sorted out here. Chris Welker got out to a huge jump out front, and that's not necessarily what he's going to need here, because this place is just like Talladega and Daytona. The leader gets too far out there, and next thing you know, he gets freight trained by all the cars coming behind him.
Definitely one thing, a major factor into tonight's race is going to be that draft that you touched on there, almost like a Talladega Daytona style race. Again, 2 miles is a long way around this 2-mile racetrack. You got to take a look at race leader now. That is going to be the 83 Chris Welker. Out in front of the pack, you mentioned that might not be good. 2nd place car CJ LaVere had a little bit of a gap, and then that's where the action is. Still side by side for 3rd. You have the 9 car of Chad Schilling working his way up on that top lane, trying to make that work. 2 cars, however, going to his inside. Randall Watkins with the advantage, and Augusto Gabaldoni. Both those guys trying to go into the corner. It's all about the draft, so whoever can stay hooked up behind someone, you could say for the longest time, can keep those turns very as smooth as possible, I guess. That's going to be the car that's going to get to victory lane here at the end of the night, and they're starting to wheel in now, that 83 of Welker up front.
Welker out to a huge lead, half a second right now. That's going to shrink this time by at the stripe as we put 3 laps down of 20 here in the first of 2. dual races here, 20 laps each. Invert the field at the halfway point here. Gabaldoni still fighting back on the bottom side with the number 67. That's Brian Harvey. Brian Harvey up on the top side now, coming through turns 1 and 2. He will look to get that run and possibly the draft from the car in front of him, and I believe that would be the 9 of Chad Schilling here on the back straightaway going into turn number 3, Evan. We're still side by side for that 5th spot.
Yeah, definitely got the 27 car of Gabaldoni trying to make that thing work there on the bottom lane, having the advantage this time coming to that start-finish line. As he's going to hang on to that spot. Brian Harvey in the top lane right there. He's got to hold his line. Remember, sometimes it's going to be hard to see those drivers next to you. You really got to use those spotters to your advantage. Come back down. You see the draft that he gets right there. Gills gets blocked. Gabaldoni moves up to try to protect that position. Harvey with a swerve, almost getting into the inside wall. He's going to recover, but he doesn't take too kind of that. Now great racing behind him, side by side for the 8th spot with Josh Cheney and Kevin Manning.
We're at 3 wide just a minute ago on the backstretch here. Guys are slicing and dicing, trying to get into the right spot here, trying to time their run to the front here as we're pack racing now at the front here. CJ LeVere just took the lead from Chris Welker that last time by. Side by side, 2 rows deep now coming out of turn number 2 on the backstretch. LeVere ducking to the inside of J. Randall Watkins. They're side by side for the lead now going into turn number 3, almost 3 wide there with the 83 of Welker up in the top lane, trying to show 3 wide now coming out of turn number 4 onto the curved D-shaped front stretch now as we're side by side to the stripe. Only 4,000 separates CJ LeVere and J. Randall Watkins that time at the stripe, Evan.
Yeah, what a move by LeVere to get to that front position. However, Randall Watkins on that top side in the 77 working strong here off of turn 2 is going to clear LeVere on the bottom, and he's going to bring Chris Welker. Actually, Chris Welker's in the 3rd position, but he does have company there for the 2nd position. So again, and now the pack, you see, it's really starting to form. All of these guys, positions 1st through 10th within a second of each other. A big pack of cars. Open wheels, just got to be very careful here early on in the going. Remember, no resets for these drivers on these race cars, and these Indy cars can get torn up pretty quickly. So it's all about risk versus reward here. How hard you want to charge up to that front and try to make it work, as we're now side by side for 3rd, LeVere on the top.
Better yet, Evan, how about we go 3 and possibly 4 wide back here for about the 10th spot or so going into turn number 3. A couple guys are looking side by side right now, but entering the corner, they were looking to make it 3 wide. As there's contact in a big gaggle of cars here. We got the big one already underway here at Michigan.
Huge wreck, several cars involved. The caution flag gonna fly here on lap 9. And that wreck taking out a lot of fast competitors. That incident happened at the top, and it looks like it was caused by CJ LeVere in the 04 car. Take a look at the replay there, lap 8 coming off the corner. I don't think he saw that car up there, and it looked like he tried to make a move on the car in front of him and just spun out the other car in front of him and spun them out. And then they were right in front of that big pack that we saw and sent one car up into the outside wall in front of the pack. And just collected a whole bunch of other cars, and that's pretty much going to finish off the nights for a bunch of those guys, considering how sensitive the damage is and the aero needed on these race cars to perform at the Michigan International Speedway.
67 of Harvey involved, 51, 24, the 27 of Gabaldoni is also involved. Several cars involved here into this lap number 9 melee. Several cars with heavy damage, the 27 of Gabaldoni being one of them, the 04 of CJ LeVere. Several cars will be done here in the race here, and we'll probably have about 9 or 10 cars left on the track here as we shake things out.
Some drivers making some pit stops, led by the 9th place car, the 03 Nathan Bowers. Everybody, a couple cars from him on back, so the back end of that lead lap coming down the pit road. Most of those guys seeing what or if anything they can salvage from the race cars after getting caught up in that hard incident, but I assume most of them are going to have their nights cut short here. Again, currently working under the caution flag on lap 10 of 20 on a heat race, I guess you could call it heat race 1 or segment 1 of the ETVLive Duels here tonight at the Michigan International Speedway. Again, ETV special presentation tonight of the Professional Sim Racing IndyCar Series. You mentioned lots of real sim racing guys in the event tonight. Of course, CJ LaVere, who was involved in that wreck, he races regularly with a Monday and Thursday night series here on ETVLive. So again, this is their first season. I'm sure they'd like for some members to join them. So if you're interested, make sure you guys search them up at iLeagueRace.com or on the iRacing service and give them a shout.
Definitely. We'll reset your top 5 for you here as we're working lap number 10 under the caution flag here at Michigan. Out front right now is the number 77 of J. Randall Watkins. Watkins is a full throttle Cup Series driver here. You can see here on Monday nights here on ETV Live. Right behind him is the number 9 of Chad Schilling in the second spot. In the third spot, you will find the number 67 of Brian Harvey, who was involved in that last accident there on the front stretch. Did get a little bit of damage, but he elects to stay out. In the fourth spot, right behind Harvey, is the number 66 of Kevin Manning. Rounding out your top 5 will be the number 99. That's Josh Cheney.
And definitely, let's take a look at the results from last week. I don't think we have an overlay, but just to talk about it real quick, they were at the Texas Motor Speedway for an 80-lap event there last weekend, and not a lot of cars came out. It was the Longhorn 80 at the Texas Motor Speedway. Chad Schilling actually taking home the W in that, currently sitting in second, so he knows his way around Delaware Indy cars and should be a contender week in and week out, and that's why he's sitting in that second spot. John Higman Jr. taking home second, Adam Roberts in third, Nathan Bowers in fourth, and Jay Horton running off the top 5. So you take a look, some of those guys here up front, so it's really about settling in and getting used to these cars. But the field's starting to reshape. I do believe that the lights are still on the pace car at the front of the field. So we may have 1 or 2 more laps to go before we get back to the green flag race. And that's going to be a shootout till the end of this. And then we're just going to flip the field around and do the second half of the race. So still a lot to come here tonight.
Clicking off 33-second laps here, Evan. I tell you what, if we stay clean and green for that second segment, it'll be just a 10-minute race. And not a lot of time here when you consider that you got 17 drivers on the track here, and they're all pretty much nose to tail here when we are under the green flag condition here at the speedway here. Evan, one thing to point out here with a historical value here of why these cars are running here at Michigan. For several years after the CART and IRL split here, the CART guys ran here at Michigan with the US 500 here, and after the merger here right around late 2003, 2004, they ran a 400-mile event here, and one of the more memorable races, I do believe, was when Tomas Schechter was running the Panther Racing number 4 Pennzoil Dallara chassis IndyCar here at Michigan, and it was several 3, 4, 5 wide moments going into the corners. Big toe here from the draft here is what they call it here in the IndyCar series. So definitely a very, very interesting battle here in real life as well. And these guys just having a pleasure of just doing that here in a little bit different car here. So, you know, these guys go 4 or 5 wide here on a track that can support it, Evan. We got ourselves quite a show here as the lights are off on the pace car.
And definitely lights are off on that Ford First Racing Mustang pace car. So we're going to look for the green flag to go back green on lap 13. Next time by the start-finish line. You talked about these race cars, not quite the newest DW12 chassis that they run in the IZOD IndyCar Series, but this past season, the IndyCar Series actually closed off their season in Fontana, California, a track very similar to this. Lots of 3-wide racing, very entertaining to check that out. So you look at what we've seen tonight, lots of pack racing. Once we got 5-6 laps in, all those guys caught up to each other, running in a single file line on the bottom, and then guys were not hesitating once they got the speed that they wanted to duck out. We saw CJ LaVere make some good moves down to the bottom to try to get to those lead positions. So these cars are very racy, and there's a lot of guys that are definitely going to be looking for a win. Still 15 cars left on the lead lap at this point in the race.
15 cars are on the lead lap right now. Anybody in that top 15 has a shot at winning it. I'm predicting, though, Evan, that you want to be in around the 3rd or 4th spot here, coming to the white flag here, as you will have the toe in front of you, and the guys are going to get themselves in the proper position here, probably in the next couple laps here after green, to try to set themselves up for that short dash to the finish.
And definitely, well, the field is doubled up. The lights are off on that Ford First Racing Mustang pace car, and we're going to be looking for the green flag this time by the start-finish line. That pace car coming off of turn number 4 is about to dive down to the safety of pit road right here. There he goes. The field is in the hands of the 77, going 65 miles an hour. He is on the loud pedal, and the green flag back out at the Michigan International Speedway. This time, second place car with a lot better of a race start. So Chad Schilling in the number 9 car, only about a half a car length or a car length off the back bumper of Watkins. Going into the one, you see he goes up, try to arc it a little bit more into the corner. But the green flag definitely back out here at Michigan as the field starts to get set out.
Watkins trying to get that aerodynamic toe from the 77 of Watkins. Schilling now crosses over and ducks down to the inside, and Watkins tries to throw the block but cannot get it done because of the strong aerodynamic toe that he was throwing off for the number 9 car. Schilling now into the lead coming out of turn number 4 here. Schilling throws the block now onto the apron here on the front stretch. Very interesting here. These guys keep slicing and dicing side by side here as Watkins goes up high here trying to retake the lead here. I got to tell you, these guys slicing and dicing up here at the front are going to allow them guys right behind them to get right back into the picture. And
you don't have any fenders to beat and bang in these things, so when somebody blocks you, you better get out of the gas. You're both going to be into the outside wall with these open wheel race cars, definitely for sure. So protecting position, very key, especially when you're at the front of the pack, because everybody else behind you is going to have that toe trying to get up to you, and that's what puts that leader in a bad position. This time by, it's going to be Randall Watkins going to lead at that stripe by about 0.03 of a second over Schilling. Schilling still on the inside line, but the pack has caught them, led by the 67 of Brian Harvey. Harvey coming into the picture. He's going to go up to the top side behind J. Randall Watkins in the 77, along with Josh Cheney. So 3 on the top and 1 on the bottom, but here comes more.
Watkins now moves right to the bottom lane here, throws the block on the 9 of Schilling, but 67 Harvey, he's coming high on the top side. He does have a strong toe from the 77 of Watkins, who ducks out of line here, trying to run that outside line here and try to get the momentum around the 77 of Watkins. We're almost 3 wide going into turn number 1, and we almost are. Schilling on the bottom, Watkins in the middle, Harvey up top now, make it 2 wide, almost 3 wide coming out of turn number 2 onto the backstretch, Evan.
Definitely the 77 with the advantage on the top line with the 67 of Harvey in tow. And you got Schilling and Cheney on the bottom. Another car coming into the picture is the 10 of John Abbott. John Abbott wanting to get up into the action here with these top 5. These top 5 have broken away a little bit from the field. Abbott in that 5th spot, about 2/10 off of race leader Schilling. So all these guys right here put a blanket over him. Big pack here up front. Then it's 2 seconds back to the 6th place car, and a lot of racing going on back with those guys as well. They were 3 wide just not too long ago, so they're battling all over the racetrack. But up front, Schilling continuing to try to protect his position. Now it looks like Josh Cheney is going to go to the middle, 3 wide into turn number 3. Almost 4 wide in turn number 3 here, as we're almost 3 wide again, and we are 3 wide off of turn number 4. That 99 of Josh Cheney trying to stick his nose in the middle here, wisely backs out of it, gets right back tucked behind the number 77 of Watkins, as we're 3 laps to go here at Michigan in the first segment. Here is Harvey trying to choose a lane, and he goes 3 wide right in the middle there and ducks right back under the 77 as the 67 of Harvey trying to show the nose to the number 99 of Josh Cheney as well. These guys are all slicing and dicing, almost single file in turns number 3 and 4, coming onto the front stretch, coming this time by to 2 laps to go here, Evan. Caution flag is gonna fly. That should do it for this segment in the race. 99 Josh Cheney showing his displeasure, feeling that he could have got something there as the laps wind down. But the caution flag is going to come out for an incident off of turn 4, and it's that second pack that we were talking about involving this number 65 car, Ed Williams Jr. on the bottom, and the 66 Kevin Manning looking like the 65 of Ed Williams Jr. making something work on the bottom. Just pushes up a little bit. You can see that on the racetrack as his right side tires drift up the track a little bit, catches the rear end of that 66, getting shot up into the outside wall, heavy contact to that right side of the race car, and then the 65 of Ed Williams Jr. spinning out, collecting another race car being the 60, so the 60 involved in that as well, John Hibgen Jr. Those cars hard into the outside wall, Ed Williams Jr. pirouetting down that front straightaway, so a big incident is going to close out this first part.
Definitely not what we want to see here to close it out, but I tell you what, though, very interesting racing here. I can't wait for the second segment. 20 laps in that segment as well here, and I bet you everybody here in this field still has a shot to win here. Gonna have to keep it tuned here. Once we cross the checkered flag here in just a moment here, we got the white flag in the air right now at the stripe. All Watkins has to do is make one more lap under caution here, and we'll reset the field, invert them, and get them rolled off here for another 20 laps here on ETV Live. I cannot wait for that second segment, Evan.
It's going to be pretty crazy. I mean, once these guys get in that pack, the 99 Josh Chaney looking very strong again. These guys are running the iRacing fixed Michigan setup, so not like anybody's going to have a performance advantage over one another, but the 99 was being very aggressive but conservative. There were some times where he could have stuck his nose in there 3 wide, tried to make something work, but backed out of it. But he was definitely not backing out from making moves either. Definitely try to work his way through that top group. And again, once the caution came out, disappointed on the radio because he felt that he could have finished this thing off in that first position, as we would have had about 2-3 more laps of green flag racing till the end there. But that's just the one thing about the pack racing. Again, nothing more or a few things can relate to racing these things. Very nerve-wracking at these oval racetracks in these Indy cars, because there are no fenders to protect you, so you got to be on the same page. And when there's guys throwing blocks, you have to be up on the wheel at all times, because any mistake could end your night just like that.
Definitely. And speaking of the utter danger of IndyCar racing, back around the year 2000, Jill DeFerrin in a kart, I believe it was a Reynard Honda had a turbo chassis in the kart world championship days here 13 years or so ago, Evan, and he set the closed record, world record for a closed course. Actually, it was 241 miles an hour average speed at the California Speedway there in Fontana. So, a track that is very similar to Michigan in size and in banking. And I tell you what, I think that record would have been eclipsed here if they would have ran the record here at Michigan. But I tell you what, Watkins takes home the victory here as they cruise back around the IndyCar. We'll get everything lined up here, 20 laps at the Michigan International Speedway here, coming up here after a commercial break here in just a few moments, Evan. But I tell you what, that 99 Chaney, he looked really hot here during that race.
Yeah, definitely. He looks like he can definitely be in contention to take this win home. One thing about this in Fontana, this racetrack has 4 more degrees of banking, so a little bit more speed in these than that racetrack, and the intensity is only going to pick up in that second half. So we're going to head over down there, invert the field. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break. Randall Watkins is going to lead at the halfway point and take home the win for duel number 1. Again, ETV Live's live coverage of the Professional Sim Racing IndyCar Series. We'll be back after this commercial break.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Travis, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4, and the checkered flag, he wins his first NASCAR iRacing.
plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETVLive, sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks, HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com. If you're a serious online racing enthusiast, you need Derek Spear Design, maker of high-quality, custom-built, and 50 caliber strong simulation racing products like button boxes, shifter pedals, component parts, and more. The advantage a championship sim racing driver needs. Rated 10 out of 10 by Inside Sim Racing TV. Check out his line of top-shelf sim racing products reasonably priced at DerekSpearDesigns.com and buckle in for a no-nonsense ride. DerekSpearDesigns.com today, cowboy.
And welcome back. We are live again here at the Michigan International Speedway. ETVLive's live coverage of the professional sim racing IndyCar series continuing now. It's time for duel number 2, the final 20 laps. We're going to invert the field, and then we're going to go green for these final 20 laps. My name is Pasoko. Justin Rose now joining me up in the booth. Justin, an interesting first segment that we saw, you could call it. We saw 2 cautions, a lot of big pack racing, very intense action. That's only going to multiply here as these 20 laps are now going to be the finals. Once those laps start clicking down, some drivers are going to start getting a lot more aggressive.
Definitely, but don't count out the guys coming from the back of the pack, though. They were fast because they were up front in that session, but do not count out those guys now being at the back of the pack. We did see some drivers having some difficulty going from the back to the front in the first segment, but anything can happen here with this being a fixed setup race, being the iRacing fixed setup. A lot of guys should be swapping positions, and we may even still get to see some of that 3 and 4 wide action we've seen here this last race.
And definitely for sure again, so we're going to invert the field. Take a look at the results from the previous segment. J. Randall Watkins in the number 77, taking home the victory. Another fast car finishing second, who thought he could have got up there at the front if we did not see the caution, being the 99 of Josh Cheney. Chad Schilling in the number 9 car finishing in that 3rd spot. Brian Harvey in the 67 taking that thing home 4th. 5th place to 10 of John Abbott. Joey Gattina in the 14 coming home 6th. The 83 Chris Welker finishing in the 7th spot. The 04 of CJ Oliveira 8th. 9th position is the 60 of John Higman Jr. rounding out the top 10. Adam Roberts in the number 24. So those were the top 10 finishers from the heat race number 1, or duel number 1 here in tonight's racing action. They're going to be at the back, and they're going to be looking to go forward. So it's going to be interesting to see how they negotiate this. Again, 20 laps, 2 miles, full on the gas. You got to talk about that draft or toe, as it's referred to. A lot of hungry guys, and I don't know. I think we're going to see a caution or 2 here, just because of the nature of this racing. So almost going to be a survival of the fittest, and whoever can play that game the smartest and try to stay patient the longest is going to end up in victory lane.
Definitely, and one thing to point out though is that Nathan Bowers did not get that good of a restart or start at the first segment here. It's critical for the guys on the outside lane here to get just as good a start or restart as the leader here, as that can really bottle things up there and really hurt the guys that are much further back in the pack, like we've seen here at the first stint there before we had that lap 9 caution here in the last segment.
And definitely again, so this is going to decide the winner of tonight's race. Again, 2 duels on the board. Duel number 1 is done, and now it's time for duel number 2. Again, a special broadcast. Talk a little bit about the league, the professional sim racing IndyCar series, and its inaugural season. Tonight's race number 4 of points events. 5th race if you include their preseason race that actually took place at Michigan. That race, however, was 70 laps. That race winner not in tonight's event. So you got to look. If you're interested in joining, feel free to check them out at iLeagueRace.com or on the iRacing service and check that out. Time beginning to wind down in the warm-up session. Again, these drivers get 10 minutes after that first duel to make sure they have things sorted out, and then get ready for the race to the checkered flag that matters the most here, coming up at the end of the night. You got to take a look. Right now, up atop of the warm-up is John Abbott. He is fastest right now with a time of a 33.325. right now, trying to get some drafting or tow going on with another driver behind it, but they're going to try to draft to get some fast laps in. Make sure they're really comfortable. These cars can be very sensitive. We saw our first caution happen from a car just moving up maybe a foot, collecting several cars in that. So very, very close quarters racing, especially with these open cockpit and open wheel race cars. Things can go downhill in a hurry at such high speeds. Again, lowest speed they'll be going is still higher than 210 miles per hour. So they're flying around this 2-mile racetrack.
Definitely here is looking in practice here. John Abbott and the 03 of Nathan Bowers here are certainly just practicing with each other here on the racetrack right now. Nathan Bowers jumping up to the second spot in the time charts with a 33.463 lap here. We're trying to just show how strong that toe can be here. Is if you can get an unblocked run here, guys are going to put in laps here in the very low 33-second bracket, like 33.0, 33.1, somewhere there, Evan. And these guys are really, really hauling the mill as they're hitting almost 220 miles an hour at the start-finish stripe.
Definitely very fast speeds now in the final minute of warm-up. Abbott still at the top of the points now. However, with a new partner up there, second, Nathan Bowers. That's his drafting partner, you could call them, on the racetrack. And that's what happened. I mean, do you take a look back at that first, the restart? So the drop of the green flag at the beginning of duel number 1. The leader gets out to a big lead. He leads a couple laps, but as soon as that pack starts to form, they caught him in a hurry just because of the speed differential once all those cars are running together. So again, almost like a Talladega Daytona, you mentioned, the leader really doesn't want to get a giant start unless there's only like 1 or 2 laps to go if we have a shootout to the finish. But again, such close quarters racing. I mean, we saw 3 wide and very, very nerve-wracking behind the wheel, I can tell you, knowing that, again, it's just so close in these cars. But we saw 2, 3 wide, and they made it work for the most part. So these guys are some hell of a drivers out here tonight, and they're going to be looking to take home the checkered flag. Duel number 2 getting set to take the green flag here in just a couple moments.
15 drivers here in this session here. 2 drivers not making the call here for the second segment here. We'll get your grid here lined up here in just a moment here, but just watching some beautiful racing here with about 4 or 5 cars here. They're all slicing and dicing, trying to make themselves 3 and 4 wide here out of a 4-car pack. Everybody just trying to get a feel for each other here and get themselves lined out here for the second segment here. But with the field invert here is your front row for the second segment. On the pole for this race here, involved in that lap 9 incident here in the last segment, the number 27 of Augusto Gabaldoni. On the front row outside here, and the number 51, you will find that Doug Manning occupies that spot here, also involved in that lap 9 incident.
And definitely making up that second row inside position number 3, the 65 of Ed Williams Jr. On his outside, the 4 starting position is going to be Kevin Manning in the number 66.
Inside row number 3, you will find the 1 of Scott Brotherton starting outside of him. Not getting a good start here at the beginning of the first segment, the number 03, that's Nathan Bowers.
Adam Roberts in a 24 is going to roll it off on the inside row number 4, 7th position. And outside of him in the 8th starting position is going to be the number 60 of John Higman Jr.
Starting inside row number 5, you will find the 04, that's CJ LeVere. Starting outside in the 10th spot will be the number 83, that's Chris Welker.
How about inside row number 6, the 11th starting position is going to go, again, these now we're getting into those fast runners and the top finishers from dual race number 1. 14, Joey Gattina rolling off the grid, 11th position. 12th position is going to be the 10 of John Abbott.
Completing row number 7 and on to the 15th spot, the shotgun in row number 8. In 13th spot, you will find a 7 of Chad Schilling coming home 3rd in the first segment. Your runner-up in that first segment, the number 99, Josh Cheney, he will start 14th. And riding shotgun, your winner from the first 20-lap segment, That's J. Randall Watkins.
You got to look at a guy like a Watkins, a Cheney, a Schilling, an Abbott, a Gatino. All these guys at the back, the fastest guys from that first one. Remember, they were racing for a checkered flag. So the Randall Watkins is the winner of the first dual race. So it's not like that didn't count for anything. So they were going for it. And Watkins now trying to take them both and sweep the doubleheader here tonight with the ETVLive duels. Coming from the back with the way this racing is, I'm assuming we're predicting, you could say, that we'll see a minimum of a caution or so. He's got to get his way to the front. We know that once these guys get together, they can get faster, but they need some laps to get up the speed. So it'll be interesting to see how they negotiate that. Up front, the pace car is down to pit road. The field is going to be in the hands of the number 27 of Gabaldoni. He is off. Tire spin for the second place car, the 51 of Manning. So we are green. Ed Williams Jr. and Kevin Manning are going to go by on that bottom. Actually, Kevin Manning is the one with getting the slow restart, but now a big group gunning up 3 wide into turn number 1. Big pack here all around 9.
Banging wheels here back around the 10th and 12th, 14th spot here towards the back of the pack. I believe that was, I want to say, who was in the yellow car there? I want to say that was John Abbott banging wheels outside in the third lane here as one car almost around here and makes contact, and in the wall here goes Nathan Bowers and another car just behind him, John Abbott, also in the wall here. No caution on the speedway.
Nathan Bowers hard into the outside wall, being collected, you could say, in the incident after a trouble for John Higman Jr. Actually, John Higman Jr. was on that inside lane, rather. One driver on that top in that red and yellow car having some handling difficulties. Got loose, slid back through the pack. That was Kevin Manning, and he ended up going up and over on the outside wall and collecting John Abbott as well. However, we are still green. An interesting call for no caution. Not sure if the cautions are indeed on for this, but he went barrel rolling into turns 3 and 4. No caution, so it's going to be a battle up front between Augusto Gabaldoni in the first position, the 65. Ed Williams Jr. in second, just right off of that back bumper of Gabaldoni. Then Adam Roberts trying to make a charge here on the top, side by side, going down the backstretch.
Gabaldoni throws the block on the 65 of Ed Williams Jr., but don't count out that 24 of Adam Roberts. Roberts on the outside lane with the 51. Doug Manning making it 3 wide in the dog leg here on the front stretch here. It's a D shape here, going 3 wide here for the second spot here, and the 51 of Manning now starting to pressure here for that top spot going into 1. As they make contact, they all get it sorted out here. Great job by all drivers involved. The 04 of CJ Lavere goes around, and as I say that, heavy contact coming out of turn number 3. Manning goes flipping wildly down the back stretch here, as now we're under caution here at Michigan.
Terrible wreck down the back straightaway. Doug Manning, something upset that car once you saw them make contact there in turn number 1, and that car was everywhere but straight. And taking a look at what happened to Ed Williams Jr. making contact, it looked like pushing up the track, getting in to the other race car, or I mean, you could say that they both came down into each other, but evidently in the end of it, Doug Manning going up, clipping that outside wall, spinning sideways, and one car in the Geico machine, I do believe that was the 14, Joey Gattina, get nailed, and the 51 of Manning flipping wildly, blowing the engine up and over several times down that back straightaway. Nothing left of that car. His night is done, and we're under caution here early on in the going for duel number 2 of the ETV duels here on ETVLive with the Professional Sim Racing IndyCar Series.
Gattina also involved in that wreck, the number 14 car there. He was just unfortunately in the wrong place at the wrong time here. One driver actually managed to drive under the flipping 51 of Manning. Just a great job by that driver here. Don't quite have the number here. I want to say that is possibly the number 83 of Chris Welker. Welker is in the pink car here. He stays out here. 3 cars on the pit road. Number 65, Ed Williams Jr., your first car on the track here to come down pit road here after having contact with Doug Manning going into turn number 1.
And so that major incident going to put us under our first caution of this second duel. You got to take a look at some drivers right now. 5 of them have lost that lead lap. Take a look, 9 drivers on the lead lap right now. Doug Manning, Joey Katina, John Abbott, Nathan Bowers, Kevin Manning being showed at least 1 lap down. Again, Manning flipping wildly down the back straightaway. His car, nothing left of it. He's out. So he's being shown 4 laps down. He's behind the wall. Nathan Bowers still on track, but has having some damage. John Abbott still out on track. 14, Joey Katina, showing 11th right now. He is behind the wall, along with the 51 of Doug Manning. So, again, big wreck here to bring out our first caution. Working under caution right now. Augusto Gabaldoni is going to be your leader. So, again, right when things start to heat up with this pack racing, we saw them going 3-2 wide there. And just a small mistake like that. I mean, it looked like they were all going to be okay, but something was upset under the in the suspension or the handling of that race car, evidently causing a big wreck. So it's just a product of close quarters open wheel racing at a track like the Michigan International Speedway.
Definitely. And anytime you get the aero messed up on these cars here, especially this old Dallara chassis here that started actually in the right around the year 2003 was the year they actually went to this chassis up until Dan Weldon's fatal crash at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in 2011. They implemented the Dan Weldon 12 car, the DW12 chassis there, and it was kind of ironic there as they named it after Dan Weldon because of his fatal accident here, because he spent so much time testing that car, trying to check that for safety, and there have been drivers have been walked away from some pretty horrific accidents, like Dario Franchitti at the Houston race here just a few weeks back here. So a testament to that car here, but this car here with a lot of downforce and some high speeds like here at Michigan, and you get accidents like what you just seen there with the 51 of Doug Manning.
And that incident obviously caused by the race car coming down sideways in front of the field. The major difference that you see that is not on this car, this is not the updated DW12 chassis that they do currently run in that IZOD IndyCar series, is the back wheels, the back of the rear tires that are not exposed. So it avoids tires climbing up on each other, which was the main factor, you could say, in that terrible wreck there at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway just 2 years ago or so. So yeah, but these cars definitely fast. Just like several other cars, people are wondering, will we see the new model of it? Not likely anytime in the near future. But these cars still a hell of a lot of fun to drive, and it's a testimony to the people that do this here on the iRacing service, that if you wreck, you can just turn off your computer and just it gains them a lot of respect for the guys that do this, put their life on the line, and do it week in and week out in the real series.
Definitely. Only 10 cars on the track right now, 9 on the lead lap here. We'll set your top 10, all 10 cars of which are on the track. 4 cars done for the night. That's Doug Manning, Joey Gattina, Nathan Bowers, and Kevin Manning. All 4 cars of those involved in accidents on the first lap and on the fourth lap as well. All drivers in that positions 11 through 14 are done, but we'll run through your top 10 here. Out front right now is the 27 of Augusto Gabaldoni. Right behind him is the 24 of Adam Roberts. In the third spot, you will find the 04 of CJ LeVere, and in the fourth spot, you will find the 83 of Chris Welker. Rounding out your top 5 here, your first segment winner will be the 77 of J. Randall Watkins. Completing your top 10 here, the number 60 of John Higman Jr. is in the 6th spot. 7th, you will find the 7 of Chad Schilling. In the 8th spot, the 99 runner-up Josh Chaney from the first segment. Last car on the lead lap, number 65, Ed Williams Jr. And 1 lap down on the track right now, involved in a first lap accident, is the number 10 of John Abbott.
And every drivers 11th on back, 11, 12, 13, and 14 are Doug Manning, Joey Gattina, Nathan Bowers, Kevin Manning, respectively. Nathan Bowers actually still on the racetrack, 3 laps down in the 13th spot at the back end of this lead lap with some damage, trying to log some laps and save some points if possible, for tonight's race. The lights are off on that Ford First Racing Mustang pace car. We're doubled up going down the back straightaway. So the field is going to be in the hands of the 27 of Gabaldoni. But how about the 77 of J. Randall Watkins going from last to fifth in a short period of time, looking to complete that charge? So a lot of those guys that were not involved in that incident, that were front runners from the first duel, are starting to get back up there, and it's going to make for a hell of a finish here as the laps continue to wind down. So lap 8, lights are off on the pace car, working our way through turns 3 and 4, and that Ford First Racing Mustang pace car is going to dive down to the safety of pit road here momentarily, and it's going to be the 27 of Augusto Gabaldoni's race. The pace car is downfield in the hands of the 27. He's on a lot of pedals. CJ Lavere spinning out from the third spot, could not get the pedal to the metal, and the tires spinning there. Most likely started in first gear. He hangs onto it. He's in the grass. We're 3-4 wide now for the fourth place going into 1.
77 of J. Randall Watkins involved in some of that melee there as he pulls out now into the fourth spot here, number 2. All 4 drivers make it through turns number 1 and 2 as they were 4 wide crossing the stripe here at the restart. 7 of Chad Schilling now underneath the 77 of J. Randall Watkins here as they've kind of formed their own second pack here away from your top 3, but your top 3 are all starting to slice and dice here any old time here. This pack of 4 cars here, positions 4 through 7, possibly 8 car there, 8th with the 65 of Ed Williams Jr. can race their way back up towards the front.
And definitely, let's take a look. Almost contact, if not contact, for the second spot. Adam Roberts getting a little bit of a bump from Chris Welker. Welker in the 83 sitting in third. So now Roberts all the way right up on the back bumper. Is going to go to the apron to take a look on him. Gabaldoni can't get the grip that he wants. Going to go pull back up in second. Get behind him, reset, and try to work his way back forward. How about the battle right now for the 5th place car? 77 of J. Randall Watkins is in front of a side-by-side battle going on right behind him this time in turn number 1. Chad Schilling on the 7 on the bottom, almost getting into the left rear, trying to make something work in 1 and 2.
60 of John Higman Jr. here battling to the outside of the 77 of J. Randall Watkins here as we're almost 3 wide for the lead. Welker in the 83 outside the 27 of the Augusto Gabaldoni. The 24 of Adam Roberts slicing and dicing, trying to make his way 3 wide, but not going to make it work. Coming onto the front stretch, it will be Welker this time by in the second spot at the stripe, but that second pack is closing in with the 77 of Randall Watkins and the number 60 of John Higman Jr.
Starting to reel in our leaders, J. Randall Watkins, John Higman Jr. making a move on his top side. 3 wide now for the lead. Gabaldoni on the bottom, Welker there and trying to make it come down. Not going to work right now. Still 3 wide up front. I'm going into 2. He's going to push up the racetrack. Heavy contact. John Higman Jr. in the wall. Caution flag is out. Back under caution on lap 12. And taking a look, the 27 car is going to be the cause of the incident. Augusto Gabaldoni race leader coming up, collecting the 24 car of Roberts. Roberts getting up, making slight contact with Welker, but evidently the car getting the short end of the straw is the 60 of John Higman Jr. Hard into the outside wall. Heavy left side damage. His night is done.
Higman Jr. again in the wrong place at the wrong time here. Second place in points here for the Pro Sim Racing Series here associated with Real Sim Racing here on the iRacing service. So tough luck for him, but you almost have to point the finger at the number 24 of Adam Roberts, making such a hard block on the 27 of Gabaldoni there, trying to take that inside line going into turn number 3, and poor John Higman Jr. was just in the wrong place at the wrong time here as Gabaldoni was forced to the apron and just comes back up on the racetrack. Not much he could do there. Gonna have to see what the officials call that actually, but Gabaldoni just kind of had nowhere to go and just had to put the apron there. Tough luck for the drivers involved in that incident here as we are working lap number 13, about ready to complete that, make that right around 8 or so laps to go here. We should have about a 3 or 4 lap shootout here to the finish here, so we'll have to see here if the guys up front can get a really good restart. But Chris Welker was very strong in that first segment. He is now out front, followed by the 24 of Adam Roberts. 27 Augusto Gabaldoni will come back into the third spot there. 77 of J. Randall Watkins will be in the fourth spot, and rounding out your top 5 will be the number 7 of Chad Schilling.
And if that's just a product of that 3-wide racing that we saw all the way down the backstretch, they couldn't quite clear it up. And by the time they got into the corner, you mentioned cars getting forced down there under the apron, and it just pushes up the racetrack. He probably had that wheel turned all the way to the left, just nothing more that he could do, and evidently causing that caution. So again, the guy that gets the worst end of it, John Hinman Jr., his night is done as well. Still a couple good cars left in this field right now, working lap 14 under the yellow flag. We're going to be looking for the green in about 1 or 2 laps here, the one to go at least, and try to finish this thing off, hopefully under the green flag. But when we do so, it's going to be Chris Welker in the 83 on that top, who made it 3 wide on the very top side, tried to come down, going into 3, could not quite clear him. He's ended up going to be your leader when we do come back to take that green flag in a couple laps here.
One guy you want to keep your eye on coming from the 7th spot right now on the track will be the 04 of CJ Lever. Lever needed that caution after spinning his tires on the inside line there on that last restart here. He badly needed that caution here as he was over 12 seconds back from your front runners here who had the draft. Definitely what CJ needs here, but anything can happen here with these guys going 3 and 4 wide here, so gonna have to see what happens here on the restart as Lever will occupy that inside line here as we get ready to go back green here in just a lap or 2.
And definitely, again, dual race number 2 right now in progress out of the ETV Duels here. Again, ETV's special presentation of the Professional Sim Racing IndyCar Series. Tonight, 2 races of 20 laps at Michigan. Earlier on, it was J. Randall Watkins taking home the W. He's up to 4th already. Remember, after that race, we inverted the field. 20 laps, not a lot of time, especially with cautions. Caution takes up a good chunk of those laps, which you want, about 2, 3, or 4 of them. So it makes it a lot harder from coming from the back, but Randall Watkins, 77, is sitting 4th, so he's managed to avoid the carnage, and he is getting his way up there, and the intensity is going to rise here because under the caution, all these drivers are thinking through what scenarios could possibly happen once that green flag flies. All thinking goes out the door, and it turns to racer's instinct coming to that checkered flag.
Definitely one guy also to not count out here on this restart here, needs to get a good restart, is the 99, your runner-up from the first segment. That's Josh Cheney. Cheney definitely thought he could have won that other segment here before a lap 19 caution here ended the race. Gotta say though, Cheney looking very racy here, has smartly avoided the incidents here from the middle of the pack. Can he get to the front here as we get ready to go green here with about 4 or so laps to go?
It's going to be interesting to see who can capitalize once it is all said and done here. Again, at the Michigan International Speedway, the track itself is 2 miles long with banking at 18 degrees, 12 at the start-finish line in that D-shaped oval on the front straightaway, and then the backstretch 5 degrees of banking. Very high speeds at this racetrack. Your average conditions, so nothing crazy going on with the weather in the iRacing service. Partly cloudy, 78 degrees Fahrenheit, winds to the north at 2 miles an hour, and relative humidity 55%. So pretty much the stock weather settings. So that's not really going to play any sort of factor into this, but the lights are off on that Ford First Racing Mustang pace car. I do believe if we see a caution, it may end the race, most likely. So these guys are going to be going for it on the restart. Justin, what are you expecting that we're going to see here once we see the final restart coming up here in about a lap?
We will probably see a huge mess here, but it's a good thing here iRacing has the default weather settings here, because I live here in Michigan, and I tell you what, winds would be coming out of the west at around 14 miles an hour, and it would be about 46 degrees here. Too cold to race these Indy cars here at the Michigan International Speedway, which sits right at the corner of US 12 and Michigan State Road 53. I gotta say here, Gotta watch some guys at the back of the pack. The 04 of LeVere, the 65 of Ed Williams Jr. Also, don't count out the 99 of Josh Chaney as well here. Several strong drivers here. Anybody can take it here. They just got to make the right move at the right time here as we get ready to go back green here with 4 laps to go.
Who is going to make it into victory lane for dual race number 2? Do they make it to the checkered flag before we see a caution? I doubt it, because these guys are going to be going forward on the final restart coming up here as the field is doubled up, working their way through turns 3 and 4. 8 drivers on the track right now from the lead lap. Anybody can come home with this victory depending on what we see. Lights off on the Ford First Racing Mustang pace car. Coming off of Ford is going to dive down to the safety pit road. Chris Welker is in control of the field. He's going to want to get out and go, and there he goes. Green flag back in the air. Battle is on for second, 3 wide behind them going into 1.
77 of Randall Watkins did not get a good restart that time. He actually fell back to the 6th spot here. 99 Josh Chaney here shuts the door on the 77 of Watkins going into turn number 1. Single file here all the way through the top 8 cars here, which are still left on the racetrack right now. Abbott still on the lead lap here in the 9th spot, several seconds back from the field here, but the battle is on. 3 laps to go here, trying to run down the 83 of Welker here, coming out of turn number 4, side by side for the 2nd spot. Gabaldoni on the inside, and the 7 of Schilling to the outside. The 24 of Adam Roberts here in second here, drifts up, trying to bring along that toe in the outside lane here for the 7 of Schilling. These guys here got to get collected up here, and Chaney in the 5th spot here is really hoping these guys go side by side here, so he's a chance here now that we're working 3 laps to go here.
Gabaldoni nearly into Schilling off of turn 2. Gabaldoni working the inside, Schilling on the top, still side by side for 3rd. Adam Roberts is going to try to make his move off of 4. Going to go to the top side by side for the lead, trying to maintain that position. He's there, but the advantage to Chris Welker that last time by the stripe. Now Roberts getting that push almost from Schilling into 1. Schilling right on his back bumper. Chris Welker pushing up the racetrack a little bit. 4 cars in this thing now up front. Adam Roberts now to the lead.
1.5 laps to go here at the Michigan International Speedway here, almost 3 wide here for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th spot. 6 cars here in contention to win here as the white flag now hangs in the air for your leader, the 24 of Adam Roberts. Roberts to the inside. Welker looking to make it 3 wide here on the front stretch here. Tucks up under the 24 here. The 24 of Roberts here trying to walk both lines here. Shuts the door on Welker on the inside line. Schilling has a contention. Chaney now makes a wild move. We're 4 wide off of turn number 2. Who's going to get the advantage now coming down the backstretch? The 7 of Schilling here shoots through the gap here. 3 wide, and there's contact here going into turn number 3. Race to the finish now coming off of turn number 4. Who's going to get it? The 99 of Chaney's in the 2nd spot. Coming to the stripe here. 2, 3 wide now coming to the stripe. The 24 of Roberts is going to come up just short at the line, 0.07 of a second short of your race winner. That is the number 7 of Chad Schilling here, as the 24 of Roberts and the 99 of Josh Chaney make heavy contact after they cross the start-finish stripe. Great racing here in the Dallara Indy cars here at the Michigan International Speedway.
Yeah, 4 wide going off of turn number 2 was setting up for a recipe for disaster. How about Josh Chaney, though? In 1 and 2, going from the top, slicing down to the bottom, almost looked like he was going to get it, but Chad Schilling negotiated that well on the back straightaway. Contact between the 77 and the 83 of Welker and the 87 car of our previous race winner going in, or 77 car rather, that was J. Randall Watkins. They went into the fence in 3. Remember, no cautions, however, on that white flag. 85 or 83 into the catch fence, but then they raced it back, but they just could not build up the momentum to pass Schilling. Good move by Roberts to get that at the very last second at the start-finish line. Actually, that was 1/1000th of a second. Adam Roberts over Josh Chaney for the 2nd spot, but a great way to close it out at the Michigan International Speedway. Chad Schilling in the 7 is going to go to victory lane when it's all said and done in dual race number 2.
iRacing usually shows gaps here in the thousandths of a second here, but that looked almost like a dead heat, so I'd have to say the actual gap between 2nd and third between Adam Roberts and Josh Cheney was in the tens of thousands of a second here, going to the fourth decimal place here. So great racing by all involved, especially that four wide now coming off of turn number 4. I can't say enough here. Chad Schilling gets it done with that wicked four wide move coming out of turn number 2, cuts it down to the bottom in 3, and just protects the line coming out of turn number 4 to the victory here. Great timing by the 7 of Schilling here, Evan.
Yeah, what a way to finish things off again. So close there, coming off the corner. I'm surprised they made it to 3. I mean, 4 wide. These things are open wheel. A great race to the finish. We made it to the checker without the caution. They wrecked there going into 3. You can't ask for anything more. Wrecking across the stripe, and a great victory for the 7 of Chad Schilling. Schilling starting this race 13th, so he finished 3rd in the first duel. So he definitely had some speed. I've been taking a look at how he negotiated those last few laps. Did very well going from the top on the back bumper of the car in front of him, being the number 24 of Adam Roberts, coming up to that white flag, and just very well negotiating that last lap. Found the hole, capitalized, did not look back, and that's how you get the victory lane in a race like this.
Definitely a still image of the finish you are seeing here with the 24 of Roberts here, just etching out the 99 of Josh Cheney. Again, that gap is somewhere in the tens of thousands of the second here. You can't really measure that too much by the eyeball, but I'd say, Evan, that has to be right around an inch or a fraction of an inch here at the start-finish stripe.
Definitely one of the closest finishes I've ever seen, and you got to take in mind, you see how close they are. You got to take into consideration they are in upwards of 220 miles an hour when that happened. So it just shows you how close the competition in that race is. And I mean, what a finish for that entire last lap. I mean, it takes a couple laps for everybody to get grouped up, and right when they were getting there, the laps were we were at 1 to go. So really, that nobody had time to get in line and then try to make a move. They just had to capitalize, and that's why we saw a scramble. John Abbott passing note to the broadcast booth that the iRacing service giving Adam Roberts for the advantage for the second place, but actually the scoring has been shown on their end as a dead tie for that second spot. So an amazing finish at the Michigan International Speedway when you consider just how close those guys were held for second place.
Definitely, and as I said, I believe that gap is somewhere around the 4th or 5th decimal place there. So definitely we're looking at, just a fraction of an inch, Evan, here. Great racing all throughout there, especially the guys having the cojones really in these cars here to take it 4 wide off of turn number 2 here, especially seeing the incidents that we've seen here in this the second segment here, and as well as the racing that we've seen from the first segment.
Yeah, definitely. It was a great race. We saw some big wrecks that's come to expect with these open wheel race cars. But in the end, Chad Schilling to victory lane. Chad, you got us on the radio?
I do. How you guys doing?
Not too bad. How are you doing after that last lap? 4 wide off of turn number 2. How did you navigate your way through to get the victory lane?
I tell you what, I was just talking to my teammate Adam about that. That was just one of the wildest, most fun finishes I think I've ever seen. I haven't had a chance to look at the replay yet, but I think it was just Adam really kind of cut down. I think he kind of grinded a lot of his speed off, and I was able to kind of cut it out and not really hurt my speed coming off exit off a 2 there. And then he gave a little bit of an open lane down low, which I took. And boy, what a great finish. That would have been a great one to watch, I bet, guys.
I tell you what, Chad, second place here, we're trying to get the measurement here, but iRacing is showing us a dead heat. The actual decimal point has got to be right around the 4th or 5th decimal point here after the 0, so we're talking in the 10th of thousands of a second or even further than that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, absolutely unbelievable finish. I know those guys were really close coming to the line on the back there. I'm not sure how close it was. I didn't realize it was that close, but I know Adam had a pretty good run, I think, coming off before that helped him kind of propel down the back or the front stretch. But yeah, what a great, that was a fun race today. I tell you what, these guys at PSR just do a great job, and Joey's done a fantastic job putting a fun league together, and it's really just a bunch of good, fun group of guys that are racing out here.
Definitely here. We see a lot of guys from the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series here dipping over here in the Indy cars. Tell us a little bit about the series here and the kind of tracks that you guys use here for the Dallara IndyCar.
Yeah, I think Joey and you said it right. I mean, a lot of those guys come from the RSR side, which is certainly a great series as well. And I think what Joey wanted to do is put something together that was kind of fun. Something still serious, so some good driving, but at the same point fun. And I tell you what, these cars are just so much fun to drive, especially a track like Michigan, to where you've got multiple grooves. I mean, a lot of these tracks you can kind of hold the low line and nobody can pass you, but with this track, it seemed like the outside line was really good. You can keep your momentum going up, which was critical at this track, and just a whole lot of fun. But yeah, the guys at PSR and Joey's just done a fantastic job. I tell you what, I haven't enjoyed this kind of racing in such a long time, and it's really a good, fun group of guys. So certainly, if there's people out there looking or watching tonight, I'd certainly invite everybody to come on and join us. It's really a fun time.
And definitely, for sure, congrats on your win, Chad. Do you want to throw any shout-outs out here, I guess, from the victory lane? Obviously, the first PSR broadcast here on ETVLive. So who makes it happen for you?
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Certainly, I first of all want to thank Joey and Joey Gattina and the whole PSR team for them putting it on. Certainly, thanks to you guys at ETV. You guys always do a fantastic job. It's always fantastic to go watch these afterwards and see how the broadcast goes, and really need to go that way as well. But I also like to thank all the guys that make it happen. Everybody at Hashtag Motorsports, my buddy Adam Roberts had a great finish, obviously. John Higman Jr.'s out there, and then poor Scott Brotherton had some issues with the technical issues to get started a little bit tonight. And then my good old buddy as well, Jay Horton, unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. He had some other obligations, but good part as well. So good team to race with. But thanks again, guys, for all what you guys do as well.
And definitely congrats on the win. Good luck next week, because again, this is a series. So if you guys want to check them out, visit them and their iLeague race page, or talk to the series admins, and try to join again. This is their inaugural season, just some fun racing.
Yeah, Tim Ford, definitely that. Thanks again, guys.
That is your winner from the second segment, Chad Schilling, with the awesome 4-wide move there, coming out of turn number 2 on the white flag lap. Chad, great job here. And just a final thought here for the night here, Evan. I tell you what, here, These guys put on one heck of a show here. Yes, there were some caution flags, but everybody looked to have, such a great respect for each other on the racetrack here. Definitely seen that here, and these guys would have not been able to have run 4 wide there on that last lap if they didn't respect each other.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw obviously the incidents that come with the open wheel race and Indy cars in upwards of 220 miles an hour. That's expected, but nobody yelling at each other over the wrecks. Just kind of a laid back, still serious. A lot of great racing, as Chad mentioned in his interview. But it was a great racing. You mentioned 4 wide off 2, and they made it all the way down to 3. I didn't think they were going to make it that far. So a lot of talent in this series. I mean, we got this wicked finish. It was a great way to debut it here on ETVLive for the special broadcast tonight, being the ETV Duels.
One point of note here is the race has been presented by Real Sim Racing here for the PSR IndyCar Series. And Evan, I'm looking forward to possibly getting another broadcast for these guys here. Great job by all drivers involved today.
Yeah, definitely very fun having these Indy cars out on the 1 mile racetracks, or rather the oval racetracks, in these things fast. And coming up, they have a race at Indianapolis, Talladega, Charlotte, and Las Vegas. So a lot of great racing. You mentioned maybe we'll get another broadcast with them. It was a fun night out of racing for sure, but that's going to do it for us here from the Michigan International Speedway. Again, special presentation, ETV Live with the Professional Sim Racing IndyCar Series. Again, that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Chad Schilling going home victorious here in heat race, or I guess dual race number 2. Randall Watkins taking home dual race number 1. So for Justin Rose now up here in the booth, JD Webb, Laura Lawson, my name is Evan Pasoko. Make sure to go to etv-eplay.net, check out more broadcasts in the future, and we'll see you then.
Network. Join 5,000 plus other listeners where you can hear everything from big 80s metal to classic rock and roll, country radio, ETV Live, sports radio, even adult and unplugged rock and roll. HDRadioNetwork.com, one of the fastest growing internet radio networks. HDRadioNetwork.com. Take it with you, cowboy. Get the mobile app for Android, iPhone, iPad, and all the rest from TuneIn.com.